I was barely out of high school when I went to Ethiopia with my parents in 1971. My father had been appointed director of our mission. In the mid-1960s, our mission had been the first to start schools for the deaf. I was to teach first grade and had to take a class in sign language as well. After my family had been living in Ethiopia for a year, LeaMcD joined our mission. Carl, who had recently completed his degree in deaf education, had come to train teachers at the school. Every day, Carl and I spent time together teaching and helping deaf students. On Saturdays, we rode horses and began to fall in love. We married among our delighted family and friends at the mission and began our life together working in Ethiopia among deaf students. When our daughter Wendy was born, she was surrounded by love and care at our mission home. In the spring of 1975, my mother and father went on a short trip to the States. They visited family and friends and also raised support for the work in Ethiopia. While on that trip, my parents were killed by a drunk driver. Still dazed from our painful loss, Carl and I moved back to America with Wendy. This sudden move only intensified my sorrow. Ethiopia had been my home for so long. My beloved husband, Carl, died in 1988 after a long battle with cancer. By then, we had 2 biological children, as well as 5 Ethiopian children. I married Neil Payne in 1990. He was a wonderful, godly man, and together we continued to raise our children. I thought my days working with the deaf students were over. In the year 2001, Ethiopia and the deaf miraculously became a part of my life again. Neil, my beloved husband, financed my first trip to Ethiopia. Today, we both continue to support the work God has for us by driving a truck for Covenant Transport.
Lyle and Pearl Leach were our teachers 35 years ago. I also remember our beloved teacher, Carl McDonald. Pearl taught us sewing and embroidery. The memory of them are not lost with the Ethiopian deaf. When I saw her after 30 years, I was really confused. We knew each other when we were very young. When we met, she asked me if I recognized her. Then I studied her face and recognized her. I suddenly shouted and cried.
In 2001, we began with a few deaf students. Then there were more wanting to enter our tutoring program. We found a much-needed larger facility in a good location. Soon, our program increased even more with students ranging from grades 5 through 10. Even with 2 hours of tutoring each day after school, deaf students were still struggling to pass the national exams.
Yes, it's God's work. Yes, I know. It's beautiful. You and Demika have been like the foundation of our school. Without you and Demika, we can't go ahead with helping the deaf.
I went or going to allow the last 5 years in need and helping each student and all students have welfare. So in the future, the parents you have to continue and improve more and more to build life.
In the spring of 2006, we approached the schools having integrated programs, specifically 8th grade and also the large high school that had been using interpreters for their deaf students in Addis. They all agreed with the importance of helping in every way possible the students to pass their exams. The mid-1970s was a confusing time for our deaf students because of my parents' death and Carl and my quick departure. In April 2006, we invited my old deaf students to the start of a pilot program just for them in conjunction with our deaf high school and tutoring program. We now have 20 full and part-time adult students with plans to increase that number in the near future. They are thrilled and so am I. As these older deaf continue to develop and mature spiritually, they will have even a greater influence on our younger deaf students. Can you see this vision becoming reality?
My name is Tom Van Heiss. I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm a self-employed business person. I'm a deacon in my church. A few years ago, I met a lady called Rebecca Payne who was visiting my church, and I became intrigued with her life story of how she started a school in Ethiopia for the deaf. I've accepted a position on the board of directors with that school, and I've been trying to help ever since by raising funds and doing administrative duties for her. I would hope that anyone who hears the sound of my voice would be willing to help in some way, either with funding, with materials for our school, because we are a small institution and we need help.
I'm Tommy Whitecott from Covenant Transport. I'm Neil and Rebecca Payne's fleet manager. They have been with the company for 4 years. I've been their fleet manager for 1.5 years. They are superb, excellent drivers. They do whatever we need them to do. Always provide service, great employees to have working for us. Rebecca usually, every time I get to speak to her, will kind of update me with the mission that she helps out with. It's very interesting. I'm eager to learn more about it. Lots to learn, and it looks like she's really trying to help out a good cause here.
Hi, I'm Eugene Coleman. I'm pastor of the Carpenters Cowboy Church here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and do extensive work with Covenant Transport to the drivers in the form of ministry. I've known Rebecca and Neil for almost the 5 years they've been here at Covenant Transport. I admire so very much their dedication, their passion for helping the deaf in Ethiopia. They've done this all by themselves. They've raised all their money, and yet they're affecting hundreds of people. And what I would like to do is I would like to invite you to share in helping reach this ministry. There are no corporate investors, just common everyday people like you and me. It's so great to be able to help them, reach out to people that no one else is helping. Call them today.